Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand and happy Thursday morning. On today's show, Joao Neves, Manchester United very interested in this midfielder with Casemiro's departure very likely in the summer. Could this be the statement signing that Ineos brings to Manchester United? And is Joao Neves the right midfielder for Manchester United to go for to partner Kobbie Mainoo? Sound off in the comments below. We'll be talking about Manchester United's interest in not only Joao Neves but another player from Benfica as well. Also some news coming out around Thomas Tuchel. Did he fail his Manchester United audition last night when managing Bayern Munich? A lot of people have multiple different opinions on that. Some people say you can't judge a coach by one game, but what do you think about Thomas Tuchel's performance for Bayern Munich last night? Is that somebody you would want to manage Manchester United? Someone that's looking quite likely to take the Manchester United job if Erik ten Hag does get the sack and he leaves his role as Manchester United manager. Also some news on other departures. Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, their futures could be in doubt for Manchester United come this summer, and a few other things to discuss as well. But welcome everybody to the Thursday morning show. Try and get your comments in the chat. We'll get a poll running pretty soon, but first and foremost, straight into the news, and it is coming from Portuguese outlets. It is coming that Manchester United's interest in Joao Neves is genuine. Benfica haven't received any offers, but one is expected soon. I mean, Manchester United have been linked to Joao Neves for a long time now. This, we know, the interest is genuine. The only thing that we've been told is why this might not happen is the price that Benfica could slap on Joao Neves. I mean, look at how much they ended up getting for Enzo Fernandez. Look at how much they got for Joao Felix. Benfica are literally renowned for getting the absolute bang for their buck out of any player that they sell. I mean, every player they sell, they get a really good fee from. It feels that way anyway, especially when they go over to the big club. So Joao Neves, young, up-and-coming midfielder that's got the world at his feet. We know how much Bruno Fernandes rates him. Bruno Fernandes is always pitched in the Portuguese team, talking to him. As he's even spoken on interviews saying he'd love him to come to Manchester United. Joao Neves is the real deal. He's got a massive future ahead of him, but the price on Joao Neves' head is going to be around 100 million. Man United, can they afford to do that in one window when we've got so many other positions to go and get? Two centre-backs, left-back, striker, you know, potentially even a right winger in Michael Elise. Like, can we afford to spend 100 million on one player? This is a signing you would do if you were a Real Madrid. This is a signing you would do if you were a Man City. If you're a team that's already functioning super well and you just need to kind of add them cherries on top of the cake and get them positions to make you, just to elevate you, that's what Joao Neves could be. But Manchester United need to rebuild a whole team. 100 million on one player is absolutely massive. But don't get me wrong, Joao Neves is definitely worth it. His talent, the potential that is there. Is it worth investing that money for someone who could be absolutely huge for you for the next decade? That's the question I ask to you. You know, Harry Kane, Bellingham, no one talks about their price tags because they're absolutely killing it and doing unbelievably for their teams. Could Joao Neves be that for Manchester United? It's also coming out that Benfica ideally want to keep Joao Neves for another season and are more open to offers for Antonio Silva. Antonio Silva, obviously another player that Manchester United is watching, is monitoring. Fabrizio Romano has spoken about Antonio Silva numerous times on the United Stand. He's someone that Manchester United are definitely scouting, but another player that Manchester United have been put off by because of the price tag that is set to be around him. You're looking at around, we've been told, around 80 million euros for Antonio Silva. Is that something that Man United can do on one position? Again, no. It was coming out last night that Branthwaite, apparently Everton are setting Branthwaite's price at around 80 million. That'll close us out of that deal as well. We can't be really affording to spend that much chunks of money on individual signings. Maybe we could do it on one player. And if I was to do it on one player, it'd be a Joao Neves. But I think it's going to be quite unlikely. Sir Jim's already spoken about not going and spending 100 million on an Mbappe and going finding your own Mbappe. He's spoken about that. Ineos coming in this summer, they need to rebuild a lot of positions in the squad. I think we're going to be looking at more around the 40, 50 million pound mark per signing. If not sometimes a bit lower. Apparently we're looking to spend 20 million pounds on a left back. I don't think we're in a position where we can spend £80 million on a centre-back, £100 million on a midfielder. I just don't think Manchester United are in that position. However, I would say it is Ineos's first summer in control of Manchester United, and they will want to make a splash. They will want to make a statement. They will want to make themselves known in the transfer window to Manchester United fans, but also just to everyone. This is what we're going to bring to the table. This is what we're doing. This is our first transfer window. So you could maybe get one statement signing, and that is where I think Joao Neves does creep into the conversation, because we definitely want him. He's definitely on the list. It's just whether we can afford him. You know, we had Ben Jacobs on the show a little bit ago, and he was speaking to me, and he said, you know, if Manchester United had unlimited money, they would get Joao Neves in for the midfielder. He's like their top option. If they had unlimited money, they want Evan Ferguson as a striker. Man United, Evan Ferguson's right at the top of the list. He was also right up there last summer as well. We inquired about Evan Ferguson last summer. Like, we absolutely did. I know that for a fact, that we inquired about Evan Ferguson last summer, and Brighton are just absolutely not. It's going to be over 100 mil. Evan Ferguson's kind of, I don't know where he's gone this season, but does that lower his price tag? I don't think so. He's on a contract at Brighton, and again, another club that gets the most money for the players and will be patient when it comes to selling. So Man United have players at the top of lists. If we had an unlimited fund and no financial fair play, you know, Evan Ferguson would probably be in a Man United shirt this summer. Joao Neves would be in a United shirt this summer. Branthwaite would be in a United shirt this summer. We have players that are at the top of the list. It's just, unfortunately, Manchester United, because of the financial situation we're in, you know, we're not going to have Europe. We are not going to be in a position where we can spend hundreds of millions on per position. Man United are going to have to be a little bit more tactful and be more savvy in the transfer window. Would you rather go and spend the 100 million on Joao Neves because he's that good and you don't want anyone else to get him, and then compromise on other positions? Get in the comments down below what you would want to do. But we've got Super Chat in the room. Make sure you get your chats in as well. Keel Robinson says, Tuchel is perfect for what the Glazers want. Keel, can you explain a little bit further, why is Tuchel perfect for what the Glazers want? Ryan Fairbairn says, luckily for you, Ineos have brains unlike Chelsea. You won't recklessly blow 100 million for a Benfica centre mid like we did if he fails. And then with the eyes emoji, thank you, Ryan, for your super chat. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, you've got examples of these sort of signings failing, and you've got these sort of signings being massively beneficial. Like, how much was Jude Bellingham bought for? Was it around £100 million? No one's going to talk about that because he's been absolutely insane for Real Madrid. And I'm seeing people saying that Jude Bellingham's overrated on Twitter, and I just think that's absolutely crazy. Like, you don't understand the vital roles that different players take up in a team if you don't think Jude Bellingham's been absolutely unbelievable for Real Madrid this season. Like, he's been so good. Jude Bellingham's been a massive part of their success, not because of La Liga, but also because of the Champions League as well. And then you look at other signings that have failed. Like, you look at Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez, I still believe, is a good player, by the way. I wanted him before Chelsea got him. I think he's a good player, but they've spent a lot of money on Enzo and he's not working for him. Is it because he's going to be injured? Is it because he's been injured? Or is it because, you know, it's that Chelsea team? Or is it because they've overspent on him? Caicedo, another one from Brighton. A lot of you guys in the community, you know, a lot of the guys that are on the fans forums or on the United stand wanted Caicedo to join Manchester United in the summer. And I remember Faz telling me, Beth, we need Caicedo, we need Caicedo. Caicedo's not been good for Chelsea. And he's the record transfer fee. British transfer fee for a player. Like, he was, what was it, 115 million for Caicedo? And he's not paid off. People are going to look at them signings. Anthony, 86 million. It's not paid off as of yet. There's other signings that clubs have made that don't pay off for a big sum of money. But if you pay a big chunk of money and these signings do pay off, it is massively beneficial for you. No one's talking about how much wages Haaland's on or how many bonuses his agent's got. Nobody's talking about Jude Bellingham's fee. Nobody's talking about how much Harry Kane cost Bayern Munich. No one's talking about these things because they've been successful. So it's whether Manchester United want to invest into potential success. But if you look at Benfica's track record, they've sold players and often they've not really lived up to the price tag, and that's something that Manchester United need to take into consideration. But what I can see right now, Joao Neves, I would love him, absolutely love him at Manchester United. But it is a big risk when you're on a budget the way we are to spend that amount of money on a midfielder this summer that is only young and you don't know if it will pay off. Like, he looks good, but it's a lot of money just to play on one position. Got a couple more super chats in. Let me go and have a look. So we've got Keel Robinson saying Glazers want to make the most of what they have. Yeah, Keel, I understand that. We're going to talk about Tuchel in a second. Obviously, I was saying on the show yesterday I wasn't 100% sold, but is it the best out of a bad bunch? We're going to discuss that in a second. Stick says, Beth, I've never been like this before, but I'm actually not excited about our signings. I am more excited about who we can get rid of. Super chat of the day. Super chat of the day to Stick so far. Everyone else's super chats are great as well, but that's so true. Like, I am so desperate for an overhaul. I am so desperate to see if Ineos put the money where their mouth is in terms of, you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? I keep hearing that big changes are going to happen at Manchester United. I keep hearing that nobody is safe. I keep hearing that Ineos are going to do things differently. But are we actually? Or is it just all talk? Like, are we actually going to move players on? Are we actually going to get rid of the deadwood? It's super important that we do that this summer. And you know what? In terms of being able to buy players in, like a potential signing of Joao Neves, a statement signing, selling players is a massive helping hand on the way to that. Like, you never know. How much is Saudi Arabia going to give us for Casemiro? Saudi Arabia give us a big chunk for Casemiro. Joao Neves could be done. Like, I would genuinely keep a massive eye on Joao Neves because there is going to be a statement signing wanted to be done by Ineos. They are going to want to make a splash. He is massively high up on the list. He's got huge potential. We massively need his position. We need that sort of midfielder in the club at Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes has a big influence at the club, and we know how highly he rates him. Keep an eye on Joao Neves for sure. But in terms of, if for that to happen, like Stick says, outgoings is absolutely massive. Patrick Lynch says, Bellingham, Kane, Rice are proven players. Spending 80+ million on a potential is just bad business. Even 60 million for Elise is a huge risk. Patrick, great super chat as well. I forgot about Declan Rice. How much was Rice? 100 million? Might win Arsenal the title. Big might. But if he wins Arsenal the title, it's a sign of the season. I'm not saying it's just him that's won it, but he's been a huge part to play in Arsenal taking that next level this year. And okay, yeah, he was a proven player, but how many... I remember banging my head against a wall saying how much I wanted Declan Rice, and like the majority of United fans were turning their nose up at him, saying he wasn't good enough for United, saying he was just another Harry Maguire. I remember that conversation. And sometimes, you know, people would have said 100 million for Rice at that time was a bit of a risk, to be honest with you. He was a young player. Okay, yeah, he'd played in the Premier League. I really wanted him. I thought he was going to be excellent. But, you know, Arsenal ended up getting him. It's been a brilliant signing. But like you said, players like Joao Neves that come from the Portuguese league, they are risky. They are risky business. I'm going to actually just check how old he is. He's 19 years old. 19 years old, 20 years old at the end of September. Like, it's a huge risk, but if it pays off, it would be absolutely massive. But it's like Højlund. Højlund for 72 million, huge risk. Still is a huge risk, by the way. Still is a huge risk. I think he's got bundles of potential, but that was too much money to spend. That was too much money to spend on what he was at the time, but Manchester United went out there and did it. If he reaches the levels that we hope he can do, then you'll be look back and think, okay, yeah, I understand the money. But at the moment, that's a lot of money to spend on potential, like you said. 60 million on Elise, I don't think that's as much as a risk as what you make out. I think Elise will thrive at Manchester United under the right team and manager, which is a big if. But I think for his talent levels, 60 million is a good deal for Elise if we do decide to do it. Got another super chat in from Lee Berman saying, we've been here before with huge fees. Look at Anthony. We need marginal gains for the next 2 to 3 years before anything like the Neves signing. Lee, and you are right. I'm talking about both sides of the coins. Like I said, I could talk about it until I'm blue in the face. If Joao Neves pays off, it's brilliant. If it doesn't, you sat here thinking, why did we spend 100 million when we have so many positions to go and get? Marginal gains is something Sir Dave Brailsford is absolutely massive on. Ineos have said they're not going to spend massive on individual players. So this is all just big ifs right now on Joao Neves. We are interested. It's all ifs. It's about the price and everything like that. But like you said, if it was a Man City or a Real Madrid, like I said at the start of the show, they're more likely to make this sort of signing because they're just polishing things off. It's like Arsenal. Even Arsenal could make a signing like this in the summer because look at their team. They don't really need that many improvements. They need a striker. They need another midfielder. Could probably do the left back. But looking at Arsenal, they could afford to go and spend 100 million on Joao Neves because they've got a proper functioning team that's already near the top level. They just need to elevate a bit higher. Manchester United are in a rebuild situation, like you said. Patrick Lynch says 100 million is for finishing the puzzle, not starting it. Thiago Brown says Madrid's got Vinny for no big dollars. We need to learn. Oh God, how good is Vinicius Jr., by the way? And Troy Warren says, finally not linked with someone from the Premier League. We need to branch out instead of getting the pre-Madonnas from the Prem. I think Premier League signings are honestly a really good way to go. I'm going to be honest with you, Trey. We've gone outside the Premier League multiple times and it hasn't worked. Like, it hasn't worked. The Premier League is people can be proven in the Premier League. It's less of an adaptation for them players to come into their team. You're playing in that league. They're used to the physicality. They're used to the style of that league. Look at Arsenal and Arteta. Arteta has shopped in the Premier League and it's paid off for him big time. Declan Rice from the Premier League paid off for him big time. Ben White from the Premier League, for me being the best right back in the Premier League this season, paid off for him big time. As much as I thought Havertz was a bad signing, he's been instrumental the last couple of months for Arsenal. Bought in from the Premier League. Jesus from the Premier League. Zinchenko from the Premier League. Arteta loves a Premier League signing. He loves a Premier League signing and it's paid off for him very, very well. It really has. Like, I think shopping in the Premier League, if you're going for the right sort of profiles and the right talent, can be a good thing. Man United have just been scarred because when we shop in the Premier League, we've shopped for Harry Maguire and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And credit to Maguire, he's done well this year. But before that, it was a failed signing. Like, if you look at the grand scheme of things with Harry Maguire for 80 million, he's not lived up to what we wanted for that. So Man United have been scarred because we've probably gone for the wrong profiles in the past from the Premier League. But the Premier League is absolutely a great league to shop in. You're going to spend a little bit more money because you get Premier League tax. But with that, you get players that are ready to be integrated straight into the team, have adapted to the Premier League, and you know what the league is about. I think it's a great league to shop in if you go in for the right players. And that's why I think Michael Olise, if we do decide to take the plunge on that signing, would be a good signing because he's already used to the Premier League. It's not like a Sancho situation where you go in and spending 70 odd million and he's played in the Bundesliga, because as good as Jadon Sancho is for Dortmund and as good as he was in the Bundesliga before he came, and even the Champions League, like the Premier League, it's different and you need that adaptation. And with Jadon Sancho, it didn't work. You could name multiple reasons why, but if he would have played in the Premier League before, it probably would have been a smoother adaptation. That being said, of course, there's brilliant finds you can find in the top leagues, in the leagues across Europe. Of course there is. There's many players I'd want that are in different leagues. Bruno Fernandes being an absolute, Bruno Fernandes, he was from the Portuguese league and he's absolutely taken the Premier League by storm. He's been fantastic. You know, Pep shopped around in different leagues. Erling Haaland came from the Bundesliga, so you can get gems, of course you can. But shopping in the Premier League is usually more foolproof. It's more of a safe bet. And that's another reason why I want to go for Ivan Toney as well. Super chats coming in. Pete Phillips, clubs have consistently watched us overpay and undersell on players. It is completely kneecaps our ability to negotiate because of our track record. Pete, you're right, but this is where Ineos make the change. And it started off with the Dan Ashworth deal. We're not getting our pants pulled down. We're not paying stupid compensation. We will ride it out and we will take legal action if needed. We're being strong, and this transfer window is so important to prove to other clubs we are taking a different stance and we are no longer going to get messed about. It's so important. So it's a massive transfer window for Ineos being their first one at the club because it sets the tone, and you're right on that. And Roddy Dodge says, I think we will do stealthy transfers under Ineos. I hope so. I hope we take a couple more risks in terms of getting signings in that are smart, that maybe we haven't heard of before. You know, signings in where, say, for example, when Julian Alvarez went to went to Manchester City and it was like 14 million, bam. And how good of a signing he's been. I want us to do like smart signings like that. Remember when Camavinga, we were going to get Camavinga for 25 million and then ended up going to Real Madrid and we ended up getting Ronaldo. Camavinga would have been superb for that amount of money. And people knew about Camavinga, but he wasn't a huge name at that point. That would have been an unbelievable signing. We need to do more smart signings like that. I'm absolutely hoping that that is what Ineos integrates into the football club, taking a couple more risks. Even though Caicedo is not done well at Chelsea, we had an opportunity to buy him before he went to Brighton for around 5 million. I think it was. Like, that would have been smart business. So Manchester United, I want us to see us doing more some smart signings. And for players that we don't even know about at the time or have only just started to hear about. And a lot of people talking in the chat about different players we can get. We're going to talk about that in a second. Douglas Luiz, someone's just mentioned. Douglas Luiz, I rate him so highly. So highly. Obviously, the little shimmy celebration didn't go down too well in the fan base. Understood. He got a bit cocky before he got a bit carried away with the game this season with Manchester United. But don't get me wrong, he's a phenomenal player for Aston Villa. And I think he's so good. There's a reason why Arteta was trying super hard to go and get him last season. I don't know what his contract's at right now with Aston Villa. We've not been linked to him at all. But I think Douglas Luiz is fantastic. And if we were in the conversation to try and buy him, I would absolutely be in that conversation. I've just not seen us linked to him whatsoever. But I think Douglas Luiz is absolutely fantastic. LeBron James says, what is your favourite colour? Don't know. It changes all the time. Changes all the time. I'd probably say, I've just been told I have to say red because it's Man United. To be fair, look at the nails, everyone. I bleed red. I am red for Manchester United. But anyway, yeah, that's the stuff on Joao Neves. And with Casemiro leaving, that could be someone that we could go and get. It's just the price tag. Any other options? Please get in the chat, by the way. Please make comments because I know you guys are always looking around Europe, looking at the top leagues around Europe and just looking at players, even in the Premier League as well, that Manchester United could potentially go and buy. We're all our own little scouts. So please get in the comments. If Casemiro departs, who would you want to replace him? Who should Manchester United sign? Please get in the comments your opinions because it was coming in again from this article in Portugal that Casemiro is expected to leave Manchester United this summer. Romano confirmed that on the show earlier on this week. Casemiro, it's very more than likely that he's going to leave and Saudi Arabia are going to come in for him. Thank God for Saudi Arabia because honestly, it's massive if we manage to get Casemiro out considering the wage and the age and the contract he is on. So if Casemiro leaves, which is looking very, very likely, we are going to buy a midfielder. It's who we get to replace him. And this article is saying Joao Neves has been made a priority to rejuvenate the midfield. And Manchester United are very attracted to his age, his potential. And obviously, he's very well liked within Europe and he's very well scouted. Joao Neves is a big one that is a fan's favourite, but he's going to cost a lot of money. Who would you want to replace Casemiro? Please get in the chat. Shahan Narsang says the key is to get the environment right in the club. A good environment makes mediocre players look good and good players look great, i.e. Rice. We need to do that and our signings will flourish. Shahan, another brilliant super chat. Wow, you guys are on fire with your super chats this morning. Don't know what it is about this Thursday, but I was speaking about this with Ricky yesterday. The reason why so many United fans are like, how come Sabitzer and Sancho didn't play like this for Man United? Why are Sabitzer and Sancho killing it in Champions League semi-finals against PSG, but they couldn't, the fans didn't deem them good enough for Manchester United? Team. No individuals, unless they are absolutely off the scale, will flourish in a bad team. Manchester United are a bad team. We are not a good team. Dortmund are a good team. They're cohesive. There's good coaching going on. They're working together as a unit. Team shape is massive. You've got overlapping fullbacks. You've got underlapping runs. You've got a cohesive unit of a team there. Manchester United just don't look like they have a clue what's going on. You have statues on the pitch. You have players that are just not on the same wavelength. You have a poor team. And that's why I say the fact that Bruno Fernandes has done what he's done, imagine what he could do in an actual functioning team. I don't even know. What he's managed to do in a poor functioning Manchester United team is honestly incredible. But I think if Man United actually, got their team sorted out, there'd be some players where you'd be like, hang on a second, you know what, like, I did not expect them to be that good. There'd be players now that we sold, if they went on to proper functioning teams, you'd be thinking, hang on a second, why didn't they perform like that in Manchester United? There's more players there that have the potential. There's players that are absolutely not up to the task. Absolutely, and we need an overhaul. But there's players that in a good team would thrive. And that's what's really important. Individuals, people love to talk about all the time, you know, the Mbappes, the Vinicius Juniors, the Jude Bellinghams, the Erling Haalands. Individuals are a big part of football, but how you get the best out of individuals is you put them into a flourishing team, and that's what Man United really need to focus on doing. And that's another reason as to why a lot of our signings have failed as well, because we haven't had a plan for the signing. We haven't got a style of play that suits our team and the profiles of our players. And it's like, we bought Jadon Sancho for what? We never had a plan for him. We need a plan for our signings. If we were to buy Joao Neves, what's the plan for Joao Neves? How does he fit into this team and how does he flourish? And that's the most important thing, like you said in your super chat. Somebody asked, why do you think it is that our team isn't functioning? So many different things. Environment, years of poor recruitment. The manager, I think, has to come under a lot of scrutiny this season. An environment that breeds downing tools and breeds failure. The whole club needs an overhaul. Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself said that no player or coach, it's not healthy for success, the environment at Manchester United. And it's off the pitch, it's behind the scenes, it's within the dressing room. There's so many different reasons. It needs a massive, massive clear out everywhere. Sean Howlett says, I can only get excited for one thing this summer, and it's to see what players we still have left from our old squad. Yeah, I think a lot of people is excited about that. But anyway, let's move on with the next part of call of the show, getting your suggestions for who could replace Casemiro as well. I'd be really interested to hear. Let me have a look. Are people still banging the Onana from the Everton drum? Because Onana isn't even starting games for Everton right now. Onana at Everton, to me, I do think there is a player there, but he's not somebody that I would launch into buying this summer, personally. He's not someone I would launch into buying. I know a lot of people, like on Twitter, the tacticos, as Mark would call it, are loving Onana. I thought Onana could have been a decent signing for us a few months ago, but the more I've kind of watched Everton recently, I would stay clear of Onana, personally, for me. A lot of people, someone just talked about Paulina. Paulina is a little bit too high on the age bracket. I love Paulina. I think he's an excellent player, but I think he's 30 right now, or he's 29, 30. We want to be going for someone a little bit younger than that for me personally, as good as Paulina is. And then you've got somebody else, Joao Gomez from Wolves. Joao Gomez from Wolves is absolutely somebody that another player that Manchester United are watching. Absolutely, we spoke about that on the show previously a couple months ago. Joao Gomez is up there on Manchester United's list. The same list that Joao Neves is at the top of. Joao Gomez is up there. Only recently signed for Wolves though. Spoke to my Wolves fans as friends about him. They rate him so highly. It's just, is he ready to make that move now? And again, he's someone who's going to cost you a lot of money. And you've got Sean Clapp saying, I'd start playing our reserve keeper for a start. Miles better. How do you know? You've not seen Bayern play. You've seen Bayern play once. How do you know that? Someone said Basuma might be available. Not for me. Absolutely not for me. 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 It was never for me even at the time when he was leaving Brighton. So many people wanted him. I thought he was decent, but I never thought he was absolutely top level. He started really well for Spurs this season, but I still wouldn't launch into going signing Basuma, in my opinion. Anyway, let's move on to the next section of the show that I wanted to speak about. Okay, next bit is, this is coming from Rob Dawson. Manchester United are open to offers for Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, although it's likely that at least one of them will stay. This is where the clear out starts. Manchester United are probably going to go and get 2 centre-backs in this summer. We're definitely going to get one. Hopefully we go and get 2. Varane's going. Somebody else is... Johnny Evans might be going. Somebody else is probably going to depart. We have to keep one of them. I know a lot of people would want Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof to both go, but we have to keep one of them because we're going to have Lisandro Martinez. That is the only guy that is absolutely going to be staying. And you're going to have either Harry Maguire or Lindelof. Then you're going to get 2 new centre-backs in. There you've got 4, and you've got Willy Kambwala as well that's coming up through the ranks. That is someone that you can rely upon. Manchester United are going to have to keep one of Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. But Which one would you keep? Get in the comments down below. If you're looking at Manchester United's centre-back situation in the summer, Varane's going on a free. Johnny Evans is probably going to retire. You've got Lisandro Martinez, and say you get Todibo in as well. Say you get a Branthwaite, or it could be somebody else. You get a Branthwaite in. There's your 5 centre-backs. But also, it's also coming out from Rob Dawson that Manchester United are interested in signing the Fulham defender Tosin. Tosin is going to be available on the free in the summer. Quite a few clubs are sniffing around. I saw a lot of news coming out that Newcastle are probably going to end up getting Tosin. I think Newcastle will end up getting him, but he is somebody to watch for Manchester United. And when Manchester United are on a budget, getting a defender like that who's very versatile, quick, good with the ball at his feet, physical, Premier League proven, it could be a really smart buy from Manchester United. So get in the chat what you think about that. But at least one of Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof looks like they will stay. Who would you keep? It's a difficult one because with Lindelof, you've got somebody who probably knows his place, and that's not as a starter, it's a squad player. Somebody who can play right-sided centre-back, left-sided centre-back and full-back if needed. He slotted in at full-back quite a lot for us this season. Granted, was no Luke Shaw, but did a job. But with Harry Maguire, you've got somebody who had, for one, a better season than Lindelof, in my opinion, is very niche in terms of what he can do. He can go into the final third when you're trying to chase a game and be a target man. We did it against Liverpool in the Cup. If you're defending a lead, he's someone you can put in the box and he will head every single ball away that comes into the box. He's a good defender when you're up against the wall, when you're getting peppered with crosses, when you're getting peppered with corners, when you are trying to defend a lead. He's great for that. When you're trying to score a goal, he's also good. You put him in the final third and he is that target man, and Bruno Fernandes always finds him, and Maguire always heads the ball down and causes issues in there. So Harry Maguire, for me, would be the one I would keep because I just think he offers more as a squad player for us. Our producer is absolutely dying over there with a cough. He keeps distracting me. Are you okay? He's okay. He's literally having a coughing fit. I'm trying to talk, and I've got Ryan in the background, basically like might be on death's door. I keep thinking like, do I have to call like an ambulance or something? What's going on with my producer? So sorry guys about that, but yeah, he's okay. He's okay. He's okay. He's telling me he's had it for months. He's had it since we went from Copenhagen. But yeah, with Harry Maguire, I would keep Harry Maguire over Victor Lindelof. What would you do in the chat? Maybe get a poll on that actually. Who would you rather keep, Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof? Who would you rather keep on that situation? Because I spoke to Ricky about this the other day. He said he'd keep Lindelof. We know how much he loves him. I think I'd keep Harry Maguire because Harry Maguire isn't going to be starting games for Manchester United. I can very much doubt that. But if he does have to start, he's proved this season that he can do a job. And on top of that, he just offers something different to the rest of our squad. He offers something different. He's somebody that is like, his head is like a ball magnet. You can put him in there to defend them crosses. He's a little bit different, so I would keep him just for the sake of our squad. I think he could be a good squad player for us in terms of who I would be keeping. Ryan, a lot of people are telling you need to stop the cigarettes. I've told him, guys, he needs to stop it. He's going through so many every single day. It's a bad habit. It's a bad habit, Ryan. He said apparently it's because of the stress I give him. Cheeky, innit? Cheeky, innit? Let's get him on the show out here. Who would you keep, Maguire or Lindelof, though? Get in the chat on your comments as well. Ryan says, Tosin and Todibo for centre-backs, Matt Weifer as a DM, Edison for a centre-mid from Atalanta, who's a big Ashworth target from Newcastle. Keep Maguire and sell Lindelof. Fair shout, fair shout. In terms of centre-backs, could there be a situation where Manchester United get 3? Like, could you get a Todibo and a Branthwaite and also get Tosin on a free? Could there be that situation? I very highly doubt it. I think Tosin will go to Newcastle. I don't think he'll come to Manchester United, but it's definitely one to watch. And that would be a smart move to make if you were Manchester United. But in terms of the centre-backs, I feel like there's people out there thinking, yes, Maguire's going to leave. Yes, Lindelof's going to leave. You know, all these people are going to leave. One of them will definitely stay. I won't be surprised if both did, but one of them will stay. And I think for the sake of the squad, it should be Maguire. The only thing with Maguire is his wages are higher than Lindelof's, I think. But also, I think with Maguire, it'd be harder to sell him because of that. last season, obviously we know West Ham were super interested. There's going to be interested in Maguire, but the clubs that are interested in him aren't going to be able to pay his wage, and that's the issue that you have with Maguire. So I think it looks likely that Maguire will stay, and we've already been told that Man United are open to letting Lindelof go. So I reckon Lindelof will be the one that goes. But who would you keep, Maguire or Lindelof? Get in the chat down below. 62% of you agree with me on Maguire and 31% say Lindelof. It's mad because you think, you know, a couple of seasons ago we probably never would be saying that, but Maguire really has proved he's got a place in the squad this season, not getting carried away. He won't be a starter for Manchester United competing at the top level, but he could be a squad player. Stick says, I would keep Maguire. Let's commit to a style. We paid 50 million for Onana. Let's get him to work. He's a sweeper keeper. Anyway, that's the situation on the centre-backs. I'm really excited to see what does happen with the centre-back situation at Manchester United because it's very up in the air. The only one I feel like's nailed on is Todibo. Branthwaite I know we want, but he's going to be super expensive. Tosin, Newcastle look like they're going to get him, but he's somebody that would be a smart move. And then Maguire or Lindelof, one of them will go, and who will it be? It'll be interesting to see. We'll hope one of them will go at least. Anyway, next up on the agenda to talk about on the poll, who would you keep, Maguire or Lindelof? We'll end it at 62% say Maguire, 38% say Lindelof. So most of you agree with me. I want to run another poll before I talk about Thomas Tuchel, and the other poll, I wanted to run this earlier, is would you spend £100 million on Joao Neves? Is Joao Neves worth £100 million to Manchester United in the summer? Get voting away on that. I want to see the consensus because I know he's a big name and I know a lot of people highly rate him, but it's whether the Man United fans and whether you, the community, feel like that's a smart way to spend our limited budget, especially when we keep getting told 100 million is literally our baseline to go into the summer without sales. Like that's a big chunk of money. Patrick Lynch says Lindelof easier to sell in the European market too. Exactly. I think Atletico is already inquired about Lindelof in the past, and Romano has said there's been clubs abroad that have inquired about Lindelof. I think a couple of Italian clubs have inquired about him as well. I think you could move him on quite easily. Get voting in the poll. But let's talk about Thomas Tuchel. So Thomas Tuchel is in line to potentially be the new Manchester United manager if Erik ten Hag gets sacked at the end of the season and Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe decide to part ways with Erik ten Hag. His name keeps getting brought up and he's on the list of candidates to be the next Manchester United manager, along with the likes of Southgate. He's another manager that is on the list, but I don't like to talk about that because it scares the life out of me. Thomas Tuchel. I spoke about on the show yesterday saying I'm not 100% sold on him, but it's a situation where is he the best out of a bad bunch? And I'm still on that wavelength with Thomas Tuchel. Erik ten Hag looks like he could be done at Manchester United. If we get a new manager in, the only thing that I feel like that is saving Erik ten Hag at the moment is the fact that there's no one out there. I think that's what's keeping Ten Hag in a job. And that could keep Erik ten Hag in a job if he magically pulls something off in the FA Cup final, because you look at the options and it really is slim picking. Southgate is an absolute no. Graham Potter looks like he's going to go to Ajax and it still is a no for me. Nagelsmann's extended with the German national team. Not going to happen. De Zerbi's too expensive and also a big risk after what's happened with Brighton. Amorim is a shout, an absolute shout, but doesn't seem to have been linked to Manchester United at all. Producer's got some water. I've told him off. And you look at, people talk about Hansi Flick. He's another one that could be maybe brought into the conversation, but there's no standout front runner. Thomas Tuchel, he's coming out in reports that Ineos feel like he's the right guy, that they can work with him. They've got relations with him in the past. But also it's come out that they're not going to go for a manager based purely off trophies and based off their record in terms of the Champions League and trophies. And they want to go with someone they feel like they can build with, they can lay the foundations with. In terms of Thomas Tuchel, and it was actually really funny last night, somebody tweeted me saying, Beth, is this really the manager that you're saying you're not 100% sold on, that's about to go through to the Champions League final again in his career with Bayern Munich after beating Real Madrid at the Bernabeu? You don't know anything, and then about 5 minutes later, Bayern Munich's going to get knocked out and Real Madrid's going through. And not everything's black and white. Neuer did make a mistake. Bayern Munich, if Neuer didn't make a mistake, it was looking likely they were going to go through. But you never know with Real Madrid. They're super inevitable. The things that I did pick up from last night when looking at Thomas Tuchel is Is Thomas Tuchel got a good record in Europe? Yes. Can he provide in cup competitions? Yes. And I do think he has pedigree. And if we did get Thomas Tuchel in, I would back him and I'd get behind him. And I think he's a good manager. I don't think he's an exceptional manager. I don't think he's someone I'd be massively excited about, but he is a good manager. And in terms of the options out there, he's probably the best out of a bad bunch. But is the things about Thomas Tuchel that I'm put off by? Yes. I've talked about his recruitment before. I don't think his talent ID is great. Kane was obviously a masterstroke of a signing, but in terms of all the signings he's made, I don't think... I've not been a fan of his recruitment. Obviously, Sir Jim and Ineos are going to take the reins on that, so that's maybe not something you would worry about massively. But the main thing about last night that, for me, I was like, that's a put-off on Thomas Tuchel, were his substitutions. If that's your audition for the Man United job, you've screwed it up. And he's just the way he screwed up the chance of Kane to get, and Bayern Munich to get to a Champions League final. He screwed it up. And people keep telling me, Neuer made a mistake. How could he foresee that? Yes, Neuer did make a mistake. He did. But you're playing Real Madrid at the Bernabeu in a Champions League semi-final. Trying to shut up shop at 1-0 on Real Madrid in a Champions League semi-final with more than 10 minutes to go is silly. Why on earth are you taking your best players off the pitch and inviting Real Madrid onto you? Because at that point in the game, before he made the substitution for his best players, of course Real Madrid were getting opportunities, but it was a very equal game. Bayern Munich were getting good opportunities as well. Why are you taking off Sané, Musiala, and the most important one for me is Harry Kane? Why are you doing that? Why are you changing your team shape, and why are you just inviting Real Madrid onto you? He screwed up the game, in my opinion. And I am scarred from Manchester United managers making bad substitutions and throwing the game. I'm scarred from it. And that, for me, from Thomas Tuchel, it was negative. It was, okay, it was ballsy, but it was stupid. It was too risky. They're the most inevitable team in Europe, Real Madrid. And on top of that, with Harry Kane, not only, like, if you go into extra time, which he didn't even go to extra time in the end because Real Madrid won it, but if you go into extra time, you want Harry Kane there as a goal outlet. He can score you a goal when he's one of your best players. Not only do you want Harry Kane there if you go into extra time, but I'm talking about even defensively. You want an outlet. Harry Kane can hold the ball up. He's great at winning headers in the air. He can run the channels. You know, he's great at keeping the ball, offset pieces and off corners. He's got height where he can get up. Like, taking Harry Kane off was just, honestly, for me, it was a huge, huge, huge mistake. And potentially even, you can never say because you never know how a game's going to play out, but I think it could have cost him the game. A lot of people say Kane was carrying an injury. You're in a Champions League semi-final. You've got no trophies this season. It's your last trophy to play for. Leverkusen have won the Bundesliga. You're out the cup. You fight till the death. Taking off your best players for me was just the wrong decision from Thomas Tuchel. It really was. So, you know, people can talk about injuries all they like. I still think Harry Kane should have stayed on the pitch. For me, I just think shutting up shop against Real Madrid in that situation was too risky. 2-0, I would have understood. 1-0, you just can't do it against Real Madrid. They're just so inevitable. Also, at the same time, though, you look at Bayern Munich and it should have gone to extra time. De Ligt with that goal, and the whistle was blown or the flag was raised, whatever it was before the whistle was blown, the flag was raised too early and VAR couldn't intervene. Like, that was madness. And if I was Bayern Munich, I'd feel massively, massively, massively robbed. And it should have gone to extra time. It was a horrendous decision, and I felt for Bayern Munich in that situation. But yeah, I just don't think that Tuchel's subs were right in that game. That doesn't make me think because of one game Tuchel's a bad manager. He's got personality. To get to that point against Real Madrid was very well done. To get to a Champions League semi-final was very well done. But ultimately, this is the first season that Bayern Munich have gone trophyless since 2011-2012 under Thomas Tuchel. They're things you've got to look at. But if Thomas Tuchel got the United job, like I said, I'd get behind him. I do think he's got potential. He's a good coach. do you let go of the, you know, a fan's going to let go now of the wanting to get somebody in who's going to be like a Ferguson, who's going to be here for years, or not even just like a Ferguson, somebody like Klopp and Pep who have been at their clubs for years and have had a long stay. Tuchel, I feel like, is a very short-term coach. I don't think he's somebody that's going to be there for 5, 6, 7 years. I don't see that in Tuchel. Is he going to be somebody that's going to come in and sort out the team shape, sort out personalities in the dressing room and inject some positivity into the club? I think he would. And I like his personality. I think he's got personality. He is a touchline manager. There's things to like about Tuchel, but ultimately he's not somebody that I'm thinking, yes, absolutely sign him up to the Man United job right now. That's how I felt about Ten Hag when we went and got Ten Hag. I was so excited for him to come in. I was absolutely adamant he was the right guy. I don't feel like that about anybody now for Manchester United in the manager market. But for Tuchel, would I take him? Yes. Am I sold on him? No. And that's the situation that I'm in right now. Would you spend 100 million on Joao Neves this summer? Get your votes in, yes or no. As much as I like Joao Neves, I would probably say we need to spend our budget more evenly and more cleverly this summer. But you guys have spoken and you've said 65% said no and 35% say yes. And Mark Bishop says, Chelsea sloppy seconds, been there, done that with Jose. Somebody said he'll do worse than Jose. Really? We're not getting Jose back, so let go of that dream. Amorim is someone I would like us to explore if Tuchel did go. What do you guys think about Amorim? I've not done my due diligence on him properly yet, but from what I've heard and what I've seen about him, I quite like him. He's somebody that I would like to do my research on and I would like for us to explore. It's interesting that they were basically sure he was going to get the Liverpool job, and then Arne Slot U-turned very quickly. I wonder why that happened. I don't know why that happened. If anyone knows in the chat, will you get down below? Was it because of money? I can't remember exactly what it was. And then West Ham spoke to him as well. And then they've gone with Julian Lopetegui. Amorim is someone I would like to explore. Tuchel is someone where I'd be able to get behind it. I do think there'd be improvements next season. I do think he's someone who could progress Manchester United in cup competitions. I'm just not 100% sold. And last night, again, I thought his substitutions were very naive. Nithin Gopper Kumar says, for auditioning for the United job, Tuchel should manage a game in the Championship, not in the Champions League. That is Man United levels. We are in the mud. True. I mean, watching last night, watching Real Madrid and Bayern Munich go toe-to-toe, it makes you realise how far off it we are. God, I would dream of playing a game like that. And us actually standing a chance, by the way, as well. And being able to compete. It feels like them days are so far away. I mean, we could barely compete with Coventry in the FA Cup. Never mind competing with Bayern Munich or Real Madrid in the Champions League. Nivin also says, honestly, are you going to say no to Tuchel based on subs last night? Pep messed up in the finals, and did they sack him? We need a man with authority. I never said I'm gonna say no to Tuchel based on last night. All I'm pointing out is his subs were negative. It cost them the game. And that's something to take note of. I literally just said you can't base it off one game. You can't. But it was something that, in my head, I thought, we don't need a manager that's getting his subs wrong, personally. But then again, you know, you look at the Champions League final with Chelsea, he got his subs spot on, and he did brilliantly in that game. Tuchel is a good manager, I've said that. If he got the job, I won't be like, United are finished. I think he's a good manager. I'm just not 100% sold, and I want the best of the best for Manchester United. At the moment, out of all the candidates, Tuchel probably is the best out of the options that we've got. Like I said, I'd like to explore Amorim, but there is pros and cons with Tuchel. It's not like, wow, he's going to be amazing, but it's also, no, he's definitely going to be a failure. I think it's one of them where I'd go into it with my eyes wide open, but I'd also get behind him and try and inject a little bit of excitement as well. And Patrick Lynch says, it was so strange. He didn't just take some of his tackers off. He took all of them off. Exactly. Like people talking about Kane's back. Took Sane off. Took Musiala off as well. United One says, would you rather keep Ten Hag over Tuchel then? Putting me on the spot, I don't know. The way things are going with Ten Hag at the moment, do I think Tuchel could get more out of this Man United team at this moment in time? Yes. But I don't know with Ten Hag. Ask me after the Arsenal game. I keep I keep changing my mind on the situation. There's a lot that's not going in Ten Hag's favour at the moment, in my opinion. There's a lot I feel like he could have done better. There's a lot of decisions I feel like he could have made better, but also the structure behind the scenes and everything he's had to deal with comes into play as well. For me, I can't make my answer yet. I'm like Ineos. I am Ineos. I'm on the fence and I've not made my decision. Ask me at the end of the season. Jason Job says you could go and get 4 Palacios, Simons and a Rabiot, with 100 million. Methane Man says I fear for Erik ten Hag. Had 6 managers in for years. Yeah, that's another one. Exactly. Thank you everyone for your super chats. Sean Clapp says I like Lamer. Another one that Ralph Rangnick suggested for Man United to go and get. Lamer was another one, and we just ignored him. And he was brilliant last night for Bayern Munich against Real Madrid. So physical. Exactly the type of midfielder Man United could do with. Savage says Barada, Ashworth, Wilcox, all decent, but we should actually be obsessed with Ancelotti. He checks all the boxes and he's not a checkbook manager. Ancelotti, what a manager. What a manager is what I'm going to say. What a manager. Unbelievable what he's done. So likeable. Speaks so well. Ancelotti will go down as one of the all-time greats. An unbelievable manager, but I don't think we have a chance of getting him at Manchester United as much as I would like him there. I just don't think he would. Ten Hag is clear of Tuchel, is what people are saying in the chat. I'm going to make my decision at the end of the season. Before this season, I would have said Tuchel. Sorry, I would have said Ten Hag is miles clear of Tuchel. At the moment, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Ten Hag is failing in this Manchester United job currently, but is that due to numerous factors that are out of his control? Sound off in the comments down below. I'm going to do an Ineos and make my decision at the end of the season. But thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for getting all your chats in. I think we can all agree on that we need to be very wise in our spending of the transfer window. And it is upon us. We're going to get cracking soon. Joao Neves is definitely one to watch if we were going to make a statement signing. But is that the road that Ineos is going to go down? Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Please hit a like on the video. Let me know your thoughts on Tuchel as well. Let me know your thoughts on the manager situation. Let me know your thoughts on the centre-back situation. Let me know everything. And have a lovely rest of your Thursday. Last super chat here I've just seen pop in from Rail Car Brown Amory. Beth, I am like now, if any other manager comes in, let's see how long this one lasts. 6 managers, I am done. Exactly. Same cycle on repeat. We need to change the record. Change the record. That's what we need to do. Love you and leave everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day. I'm going to check that Ryan's okay. I've not heard him cough for a while. Hopefully he's not collapsed on the floor. We'll see what's happening. But thank you everyone and we'll see you on the next one.